All right, and our recording started, and I'm going to share my screen to get us started here today. So let's do this. Welcome, everybody. We are excited that you're joining us here this afternoon on this Monday afternoon. I am joining you live today from Raleigh, North Carolina at the Friday Institute. The Friday Institute is excited to put on the Learning for All conference, and we are very excited to have the Visitation School team with us as well, and I'll introduce them in just a minute. A couple of quick things. Learning for All, this is a free virtual conference, and we have an amazing lineup of presenters, and with participants that we've had people from around the world join us over the past 2 days. A couple of quick things about Zoom. Many of you are familiar, but in case you're not, you will notice that you can see the participants, either their picture or their name along that top bar. If you want to move that out of the way, if it gets in the way, you can just simply click on it and drag it across, and you are able to move that. You can also minimize that if it's in your way. Zoom automatically puts you in full screen mode. You might want to take some notes or jump to another screen. To get out of that full screen, we don't have you locked in. You just simply click anywhere on the screen and escape, and that will get you to jump out of that full screen. You will notice you were automatically muted as you came in. We did that so we don't get any background noise or feedback. But at the end, there will be an opportunity to ask the team questions. And so if you want to do that, you can use the microphone. But throughout the presentation, we encourage you to use the chat feature, which you'll notice there on the bottom. And so that chat feature will allow us, it's already allowed us to introduce ourselves a little bit. If you haven't done so, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. But it will allow us to ask questions, and as well as make comments, or if we want to add additional resources, we'll put those in the chat. I think that's about everything with Zoom. And so with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And there is the team from Visitation. We have Kirk and Jenna and Nicole, and Kristen is over there on the side as well. I don't know if she's going to lean in, and I know you'll hear her. There you go, there's Kristen. And I'm going to turn it over to them, and they can begin sharing their screen. And looks like we have a great group from North Carolina and all around. So I'm going to turn it over to you all.
Perfect. Hey, everybody. I'm Kristen Zemke, and I am just going to facilitate some of the questioning going on here today while my wonderful colleagues share a little bit about their experience. So let me get started and click over to our presentation. Just 1 second here. All righty. We are calling you and seeing you from Visitation School here on the south side of Chicago. And today we're going to talk a little bit about our social emotional learning implementation that's been rolled out here this school year. As we look at what's to come, just sort of a glimpse of the SEL journey and where we are at this point in time, we're going to give you a little background about Visitation Catholic School and share how we got some of the ideas and where our trajectory is going from here. We're going to talk a little bit about the game plan that makes it part of our daily routines, and then how we get teachers and get students to execute that game plan. And so I'm going to just pop out for a second and let the team introduce themselves before we get too far into it.
Yeah, my name is Kirk Zemke, and I work with Big Shoulders Fund in areas of student wellness, and one of those areas is social emotional learning. And I've been lucky enough to work with a great staff here at Visitation since early August of this school year.
Hi, my name is Shenna Markov. I'm the principal at Visitation School. This is my second year as principal. I'm looking forward to sharing our SEL journey with you, and yeah.
Hi, my name's Nicole. I'm the third grade teacher here at Visitation. I've been teaching here for about 5 years, and I'm just here to share with you what I do in my classroom and what it could look like, what these SEL practices can look like in a classroom.
Great. So I'm going to have go back to screen sharing and kick it back to Jenna to share a little bit about her school and where they are today.
So Visitation has been in this community for over the last 125 years. We were founded by the Cincinnati Dominican Sisters in 1891. We have seen a lot of demographic changes over the last 125 years. When I first started here as a teacher about 13 years ago, the school was about 100% African American. And today we are about 80% African American and 20% Hispanic. Today we service about 120 students, and we are a 100% free lunch site. So our kids come from kind of high poverty area, and we have to try and meet their needs on a daily basis. And that's kind of where the SEL journey began.
Yeah, so I think jumping over to when discussions first started about why we wanted to introduce SEL at Visitation Catholic School between Jenna and myself, first and foremost, we want the students at Visitation to be able to, feel the impact that SEL can give them. We want them to be able to have better relationship skills, be able to understand themselves better, and be able to kind of manage emotions and stressors throughout the course of the day. And we know that SEL can help with that. One thing that kind of stood out a little bit in our conversations is our location. Visitation is located in the Inglewood neighborhood of Chicago South Side. Of late, it's been a neighborhood that has a pretty high crime rate, and you can see on the shared stats on this slide that in the last 5 years, in relation to homicide and gun crimes, our neighborhood's ranked number 2 and number 4 in the city of Chicago. So we know that our students can be exposed to some tough situations when they're outside of the school. So we want to be able to make sure that we're aware of that trauma and that we're making our classrooms and our school as safe of a space as we possibly can for the students that are in our building.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing right there, and we are going to get ready for our very first breakout time. Nancy, you want to take it up from here?
Sure. So before I send you to the breakout rooms, I'm going to let the team give you the directions once you're in the breakout room, but just a couple quick technical things. In just a minute, will send you to a breakout room. You'll be in a room with about maybe 4 or 5 other people. And what are they going to talk about in this first breakout room?
Yeah, well, Nancy, we just want people to get to know everyone else that's in this session. So we want people to just introduce themselves, give a little background on your school. We told you about Visitation and what the demographics and what our community is like. So maybe share the size of the school, where you're located, and I guess basically some just main points of what the breakdown of your school is from a demographic standpoint. Okay,
great. All right, so I'll go ahead and send you to those breakout rooms. You'll have about 3 minutes in the room, so kind of have to do a speed introduction. Sound good? All right. You'll get a notice that you're being sent to a breakout room now, and then we'll pull you back in. You shouldn't have to do anything. And if you don't have a microphone, or when you get in there, you'll want to unmute yourself, which will be important. So you'll need to unmute yourself. You can do that just in the bottom corner. If you need help, you can send me, Nancy, a message, and we can help you do that. Otherwise, you can use the chat. All right, and I'm sending you all to your rooms now. You should have been invited to join the breakout room. Just select that and jump on in there. Great, it looks like. All right. All right, I think everybody's coming on back to our main room. Hopefully that gave you enough time to introduce yourselves, and we're gonna. All right. So those breakout rooms are ending and everybody should be back now with us. Okay. All right. I think everybody should be back here with us now.
All right, well, welcome back. Hope you had a chance to get to know each other a little bit better. And what I want to talk about right now is just kind of our game plan and how we introduce SEL and what our initiative looks like at Visitation Catholic School. I think like what we do here is something that we found that works for us in our environment and our community at Visitation. You know, I think that there really isn't a one-size-fits-all approach, but hopefully there's something that we've done as part of our process that you might be able to use in your schools, and a piece here or there that you can implement into your classrooms. But basically how things started between Jenna and I is that she contacted me over the summer, and we just met and just started discussing what was a need at the school, and try to put together a game plan of how we could meet that need. You know, we saw that there was a need in improving student relationships. There was a need in improving self-management skills in students. And we really wanted to kind of develop a community feel. So what we did was, there's so many options out there related to SEL. Some of them are free options. Some of them are very pricey. We had a budget of $0, so we needed to be we needed to be able to be flexible when it came to like what we were going to implement, because we didn't have deep pockets that we could go to and buy any type of plan that we wanted. So we wanted to be organized with our approach. So we very early on decided that we wanted 4 lanes to our approach that we could just manage within those 4 lanes. So what those 4 lanes end up being were first, professional development. Obviously, we need to make sure that our staff has an understanding of what SEL is, and some practices that they could use within their classrooms. The next one was curriculum development and classroom infusion. Because we didn't have a budget, we needed to be creative in our approach to what our curriculum was going to look like. We wanted to make sure that we assessed our students and that we had some data tracking, so that there were points throughout the course of the year where we could look and we could see where our students were, and that we could do a pre and post assessment so that we could determine growth throughout the school year. And then lastly, we wanted it to be, you know, a school-wide culture development. We wanted our kids to feel safe and secure and be excited about, you know, building positive relationships, managing their emotions. And we wanted that to be something that was visible from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade. So I'm gonna have Jenna right now maybe talk a little bit about like what her drive was as a principal to put together a SEL initiative at Visitation School.
So at Visitation, as I discussed earlier, based on the demographic that we serve, and as a principal, I needed to be able to give my students the tools to have conversations about their emotions and the tools to relate to their peers, and in obviously the most positive way possible. And again, not having any money, we needed to be able to give the teachers the ability to drive those conversations, drive those lessons, and really infuse it into their daily practices, so it wasn't within isolation. So Kirk and I put our heads together, and we were able to provide not only me with resources as a principal, but then in turn the teachers as well.
Yeah, so first off, we needed to start with our professional development. So what we did in getting the teachers to develop an understanding of what SEL is and how they can infuse it in their classroom is we had standard professional development meetings to start the school year. So everyone's been through them. You know, the first week when teachers come back, before students come back, you know, we spent 2 days really diving through each one of Castle's 5 competencies. So self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills and social awareness. We really dug into the literature and the research to develop our understanding as educators of what those competencies are, what those competencies look like in the classroom when our students are practicing them, and what our teachers could do first off to model those competencies in their classrooms, and then infuse them into their teaching practices. So really at the start of the year, we dove in, and it was kind of starting from a 0% understanding or implementation process that SEL didn't really exist at Visitation for this school year. So we really needed to kind of start from the ground floor and work our way up, and we were able to do that with our initial SEL professional development to start the school year. What we also do is we take advantage of any free webinars that we can get our hands on. So, example, like Learning for All Institute today, we want to make sure that our teachers and our staff are taking advantage of viewing these videos once they're completed at the end of the day, because our teachers are still in class right now. One thing that we'll look to, and this is something that Nancy can share with you, is that there's a renowned SEL specialist right here in Chicago named Clark McCown, and we try to work closely with him as much as possible. But Clark gives a free webinar. He also has a blog where he talks about SEL on a weekly basis, so we try to follow that, and we also try to view any webinar that he offers that's going to be something that'll be free for us to jump onto. Clark has a webinar this week, which is talking about utilizing SEL assessment as a tool to develop curriculum within your school related to SEL. So that's on Wednesday a week, and like I said, Nancy could share that link to be able to sign up for that webinar. Obviously, Friday Institute, it's a great resource and something that I think we're really lucky to have here in Chicago. It's not too many people are familiar with NC State, but once we learned about the Friday Institute and the MOOCs and the opportunities for professional development that our staff and our teachers could use when they're outside of school hours, that's something that's been, a huge benefit to us. And, we've had teachers that have gone through and gotten we call them CPDUs. I think you all call them CEUs, but we had teachers go through and get that. We had teachers get the micro credentials. But even if our teachers weren't looking to get the professional development hours or get those micro credentials, the Friday Institute MOOC on SEL had so much information that we could use as resources in our classroom. So with every unit, every chapter, we were introduced to more potential activities or websites that we could use to really improve our offerings in the classroom. So that was something that was super beneficial to us. So professional development, the last piece of it that we want to talk about, and I'm going to give it to Nicole here, is, we really want to lay that foundation of what is SEL, what are our 5 core competencies, how do we talk about self-awareness to different age groups and grade levels. And we want to give opportunities for people to jump in on webinars, conferences, utilize MOOCs, do all the online resources that we have. But I think something that gets overlooked occasionally is, just that actual, for lack of a better term, lab experience. When you get into the classroom and you start practicing SEL on a daily basis, you infuse it, into you have standalone lessons, you infuse it into your practices, you're going to develop as a teacher throughout the course of the year. So we're 6 months into what we're doing right now. And I think something that gets lost every now and again is just like, as a teacher, when you're practicing, you're going to get better on a day in and day out basis. So I'm going to have Nicole talk a little bit about her professional development that she's really worked on in a classroom setting throughout the last 6 months of this school year.
So SEL was something that I really didn't have any knowledge of at the beginning of the school year. So really implementing these lessons with my students every day has helped me grow and helped me develop a better understanding of what the competencies are. And then it makes me a better teacher because I'm practicing what I'm teaching, which I think is super powerful to be showing, to show my students.
There you go. Thank you very much. All right, so we're going to jump on to the next slide right now, and we're going to talk about our kind of background search and looking for the curricula, just sifting through a lot of different curricula to see like what was going to be the best fit for our school. So like we said, there's a lot of different curricula that is out there, and some of them have a high cost associated with it, and some of the options are free. So we heard about Second Step from a lot of educators that we work with, and had good things to say about it. But when it came to looking at the price and being able to get that curriculum for our school, that wasn't something that we were able to do. We looked at Sanford Harmony, which I think is also a very good curriculum. But we had a little bit of a concern of fit. Was that going to be something that in our environment that, our kids and our teachers were going to be able to relate to? And basically, kind of like what we came up with is we do have a trust in our staff here at Visitation School. We know that their relationship and their connection with their students is a huge strength, and we wanted to tap into that. So what we decided to do is we decided to kind of develop our own approach, and that approach was going to be based around structuring conversations around Castle's 5 core competencies. So what we decided to do here is we decided to do a daily soft start talk circle. And what that looks like is we start the school day in every classroom with a 10 to 15 minute conversation that's structured around Castle's 5 core competencies. Our breakdown is Monday. Our lesson and our conversation is going to be based around awareness. Tuesday, self-management. Wednesday, responsible decision-making. Thursday, relationship skills. Friday, social awareness. And we keep on going back to that on a weekly basis. If we have Friday off, like we did last week for Institute Day, then, the kids will just miss the social awareness lesson for that week. And we come back, and Monday is always going to be self-awareness. We want it to be consistent. We want kids to develop an understanding of the language behind Castle's 5 core competencies. And we want them to know that, Mondays a day we're going to come in, we're going to talk about self-awareness. So if that was something that was practiced over the weekend, kids can come into the classroom and be like, oh, hey, I want to share with my teacher about when I was reflecting on my goal setting, or, being aware of my emotions or anything like that. So, what we want to be is we want to be ongoing, and we want to be consistent with our approach. We don't want to lose, a student throughout the course of the year because, we're all over the place with our approach. We want them to know that, hey, it's Monday, we're practicing self-awareness to start the day on Monday. So that's kind of the structure that we developed. And if we move on right now to the next slide. Sorry about that. Share the screen here.
And as you're doing that, Kirk, I just wanted everybody to know that I put a link to Castle's core competencies there
Great.
in the chat.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Yes. Just talking about like right now how we kind of distribute our lessons is that we built a Padlet that is shared amongst all staff members at Visitation Catholic School. You can see that we have columns and rows within the Padlet that delineate what the lesson and conversation topic is going to be on, self-awareness, self-management, all the way through the competencies. So teachers, they kind of create their own content, and I help them with that, and we're all working together to collaborate to make sure that we have content that can drive discussion related to each one of Castle's competencies. And like I said, when teachers jump into their classroom setting to start the school day, they jump on this Padlet and they pull up a lesson related to whatever the day it is. We have 3 different groups for our Padlet, so it's not just, we're not expecting 8th graders to watch lessons that, would be targeted more towards kindergarten. So our group 1 is kindergarten through 2nd grade, and our kindergarten through 2nd grade teachers create content for that Padlet. Our group 2 Padlet is 3rd grade through 4th grade. And again, our teachers in those grades create content for that Padlet. And then we have a middle school Padlet, which is 6th through 8th grade. So it's an opportunity for our teachers to kind of work together and collaborate, but then also kind of like be current with what the lessons are and what the discussions are that they're sharing with their students. We had lessons last week with some 7th and 8th grade students about self-awareness and awareness of emotions. Obviously, there was a tragic loss of a famous basketball player last week, and we were able to kind of talk about, all right, what do you feel when you heard about the news that Kobe Bryant had passed away. We had examples and videos of professional athletes, Shaquille O'Neal, a 7'3", 350-pound behemoth of an athlete showing emotion. And that was a great lesson for our seventh graders, our seventh grade boys especially, that, hey, you know what, like it's okay to show tears. It's okay to cry. It's okay to show your emotions. And that was a way for us to be kind of like current and really talk about self-awareness and awareness of emotions, and how does it feel, to feel sadness, and what does that do to you, and is that okay, and why is that okay, and why is that healthy? So it's something that we can be current with, and we're not locked into a set scope and sequence curriculum that we might find with some of the offerings that are out there. So jumping on right now, Kristen, if we could share that Padlet screen, and we'll just kind of go through and show you like what our Padlet looks like for group 2. And I'll have Nicole jump on right now and talk about creating the content in these Padlets, because she's a phenom at doing that.
So this is something that I've worked really hard all school year to make sure that the content is relevant to my students, so that way they're interested in what I'm presenting. I try to make sure that, like, sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're serious, just like a variety of things that the students are going to be looking at. So in each column, there's lots of videos on the different CASEL skills for SEL.
Yeah, and I think really what we're trying to do is just give a quick video prompt. We know kids, are interested by viewing a video. It's going to get their attention. And then we'll show you in a second here, but the videos bring up a topic, and then what we do after that, try to drive a conversation related to what the video brought up. So if we're talking about self-management, we can talk about how self-management was practiced in the video that we viewed, and then we come out and we have a back and forth discussion with our students about how did they see self-management practice in that video, how could they utilize that practice in their daily lives, when are some areas where they feel like they need to practice self-management, so on and so forth. So really what we're looking to do is to show like a 2 to 3 minute video that drives discussion related to each competency. So I think what we'll do right now is Nancy is going to share a link to a lesson that Nicole just shared with her classroom. And if we could watch that video, it's going to be about a 2 minute and 30-second video. And you can take a look at that. And then Nicole is going to discuss what the conversation looked like with her students. It was just last week, I believe, that she gave this lesson. What the conversation is going to look like with her students after showing this video. So Nancy, if we could have you share that link, and everyone take 2 minutes and 30 seconds to watch this video.
Perfect. The link is in the chat, so everybody should be able to watch that and then come back. And I'm excited to hear what Nicole, how she incorporated this. All right. Hopefully everybody had a chance to watch that. And all right, I think we're back.
Yeah, thanks, Nancy. I think what we'll do now is just have Nicole kind of describe what that lesson looks like in her classroom, and maybe some of the impact that lesson had on her students.
So I took this as an opportunity to talk about problem solving with my students, and how we might feel if we're having problems, either at school or at home. Sometimes our kids bring that trauma to school. So I went about this as a way for them to kind of get rid of their problems, like the video was showing when they popped the big balloon, which they really enjoyed watching. So the assignment that I gave my students was to write their problems down on a piece of paper, and then they had the opportunity to crumple it up into a tight ball, as tight as they could, and to throw their problems away. And then we had a discussion about how that made them feel, that they felt lighter, that they didn't feel like they were weighed down by their problems, and how if they were having problems with people, how it could affect their behavior, how they might be mean to someone that they might not mean to be mean to, and just how that could affect their work and their focus in class. And then it was super cool to see, I did this lesson on a Wednesday, and the following day I had a student ask me if they could write down their problems and throw them away. So it was super cool to see that transfer of what we were working on in class.
And I think something else that we've been seeing with our students, and I think you see as you get into SEL practices, is that a lot of the competencies, are linked. You can't have responsible decision making without self-management and self-awareness, so they're all kind of linked. And I think, the ability to not carry a burden with you and to recognize that, there's some things that you might need to let go of. Great saying, especially in the setting that we're in, sure. Is let go, let God. And I think that that's something that, can be beneficial to a lot of different people. And we're starting to see our students, if we're having a responsible decision-making lesson, they link it back then to those other competencies. Well, you know what, when I self-manage, I'm better at making responsible decisions. Kids are seeing that link there, and we're really excited to see the growth that we're going to measure in our students at the end of the year. But what we've really seen in the classroom setting is that, kids are developing a common language. If there is an issue that is referred to the principal's office, I know Jenna sees kids coming down to the office, and understanding what responsible decision making is, understanding what self-management is. Jenna has a pathway to communicate then with the students of, all right, this isn't necessarily about you pushing somebody on the playground or being impatient in the lunch line. This is an issue with your relationship skills or an issue with your self-management skills. And then we can kind of really work to reinforce those tools and skills that the kids are learning in the classroom, and we can do that on a second level intervention. So that common language is something that I think has been a real great benefit of what our teachers are doing in the classroom, and it's definitely been something that we're excited to see. And in only 6 months, it's a process, and it's a practice. I think that's something that we have to talk to a lot with our staff, is that it's not a one-time cure-all, ongoing, consistent practice. And our kids are going to have good days with self-management. They're going to have bad days with self-management. Adults have that same thing too. So we're trying to introduce young people to the practice of developing social emotional skills. And we have to be patient as educators in knowing that there's going to be ebbs and flows to our students' ability dependent on the day. And that's all right. Like I said, the introduction to the practice is really what our focus is. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to jump out to one more quick breakout session. And we're going to let you discuss with each other, what SEL practices or curriculum are exists in your schools. Maybe reflect on student engagement in those lessons. Are you seeing kids getting excited about your SEL time? And then are you observing any students, practicing what they're learning during your SEL curriculum or infusion or, anything like that? So I think we'll go 3 minutes on this breakout session if that works with Nancy.
That sounds great. You should receive an invitation to join the breakout. Just click that. And if you can't get into it, message me in the chat. All right, I'm opening the rooms now. So you should be going back to the same room you were in earlier.
All right, so Jenna.
Hey, Nancy, if you can take over the screen so it stops sharing with us, we can't get out of share.
Oh, sure. Yes, okay.
There you go.
Great.
Very good.
All right, everybody should be rejoining us.
All right, Nancy, we good?
Yes, I think everybody is back in the room with us.
Good deal. All right, well, welcome back, and hopefully you had a chance to share with your peers related to what you do and what your practices related to SEL looks like in your schools. We're gonna continue on with a couple other of the lanes that we really try to occupy. Like you said, professional development, curriculum development, and now we're talking about assessment and data tracking. You know, obviously we want to be able to see that what we're doing makes a difference and that we can show growth from pre to post test with our students. So one thing that we've implemented is it's called the SEL Social Emotional Skill Assessment. And this is an online validated assessment that is a direct assessment. It's not anything that's, related to teacher observation or anything like that. It's a direct assessment that tests students' aptitude in social emotional skills. And the skills that we test are emotion recognition, perspective taking, problem solving, and self-control. This is a 45-minute assessment, and like I said, it's something that's validated for grades K through 6. We have an early elementary assessment that is grades K through 3, and then a late elementary assessment that is 4 through 6th grade. In process right now, Excel Labs is in the process of developing a 7th and 8th grade assessment. I think that's something that we've really seen a lot of need for, and a lot of people requesting, wanting to dive in to see what's going on with those 7th and 8th graders. So that's in the works, and that's something that's going to come out within the next 3 to 4 years. But really what we've done so far is we've laid down our baseline assessment with our students, and we know where our students are at. If we're looking at the results right here that are shared on the screen, you can see that an area of need that is the greatest area of need is self-control. And that's something that we see at a lot of schools, not just Visitation, but we see that the people that or the students that fall well below expectations in the schools that we go in and assess at, usually that is self-control is the skill that we need some work in. So it's just something that helps to inform our approach. Our teachers know that self-control is going to be something that we need to talk about during our self-management days, but also model, like modeling the fact that, hey, we're in control of our emotions as teachers. We stay calm, cool, and collected. That's an area of SEL that I think sometimes people lose track of. What you model as a teacher is a great tool in helping those kids learn. And then other times throughout the course of the day, like even if it's not a self-management day, we know that our students need help with self-control. So we can remind them, hey, what are you doing? Are you taking your deep breaths? Are you finding that quiet space that you need if you get stressed or if you get flustered throughout the course of the day? But Excel Labs helps us to, like I said, inform our approach. And then at the end of the school year, we're going to be able to measure growth in each one of these areas, and we're going to be able to see, like, all right, did our approach of the daily soft start talk circles focusing on each competency, how much did that help our students improve from day one of the school year until the end of the school year? So that's our first area of assessment and data tracking. Moving on now, we created a database, a web-based database called Restore. And what Restore does is it gives us push-button documentation of referred student behavior. So kind of going through some of our schools, we noticed that there was an issue in being able to pull up a lot of data based to each grade, and kind of issues that we were seeing with students from a behavior standpoint. So we had some filed reports. Some of our schools were using file cabinets to collect their behavior reports. Some had spreadsheets, some had PowerSchool, but we noticed what a lot of people did is they had a hard time just being able to pull up and look and see. We could get maybe an observation of our 7th grade is getting in fights all the time. And it's like, well, how many, when, where's everything happening at? And we weren't able to do that. The Restore platform we created, like we said, is push button documentation of any type of behavior referral. So we know how many referrals our students are getting per grade, and we know where those issues are happening at in the classroom, in the lunchroom, in the playground. We know what time of day they're happening, what day of the week. We can really dive into that data and try to inform ourselves of, like, what are the issues that we're seeing in the building. As we get into our SEL initiative and we really start infusing SEL practices into our classroom, are we starting to see our behaviors improve? So really tracking kind of that in-school behavior and having a tool that allows us to see it right away is something that's been super beneficial to us. And I'll let Jenna right now just talk a little bit about what she's seen related to student behavior and the impact that our SEL initiative has had on that.
So the Excel Labs testing gave us like a baseline idea of where our kids were at. And then with Restore, I'm able to use that to have structured conversations with kids who needed to maybe take a time out from the classroom and have a conversation about self-awareness, one-on-one, what happened, how can we make a better choice, what's a strategy that, you know, maybe Miss Munt gave the student that maybe they forgot to use or they needed to practice with me one-on-one. And again, it's like another reinforcing conversation. The cool thing about Restore 2 is we can also track which competency maybe a certain grade or a certain student might need some additional support in outside of just the daily soft circles.
So yeah, with Restore, if a student comes into Jenna's office, she's able to rate how that behavior reflected each competency on the platform. So there's a poor, average, and optimal rating that she can give to for each competency related to the behavior that came in. So if we had an issue with bullying, obviously on our relationship skills competency, our social awareness competency, that's something that we rate as poor. So we can kind of be able to dissect a little bit, like, all right, we had, you know, 300 referrals over the course of this school year, and we would know which competency most of those referrals were related to. So we would be able to get that data too. So it's helpful with that. And I think related to SEL, we have started to see, as we've gotten through the school year, some of the referred behavior going down in the principal's office. But I know something that Jenna mentioned that she saw is that the types of behaviors aren't as serious as what you were seeing like in years past.
Definitely. The severity in behavior has gone way down. Even from last year, we had tons of kids just like hitting each other. I hit so-and-so because they hit me first. We have a lot less of kids putting their hands on each other, and we're having more conversations about how to prevent meltdowns or how to maybe talk to a peer about being in their bubble space or better choices that they could have made in the hallway. So it's not necessarily like our kids are punching each other and kicking and we're having these all-out brawls. So it's definitely gone down.
Mm-hmm. And I think in the principal's office, when we have this common language that we know our kindergartners through our 8th graders are talking about on a daily basis, you know, like we can pinpoint what the issue was, like we talked about before. It's not just don't hit that person, it's, you know, why did you hit that person? And we can have a restorative practice in the principal's office in that we're having a conversation, dissecting the incident, you know, seeing that, all right, what were our self-management skills and practices that we didn't utilize in this space, and what can we do next time to avoid that so you don't end up here again? And, you know, I think that that's something that has been helpful and something that we're pretty excited about.
And that got communicated to parents too. So the parents see maybe a behavior referral sheet, and then it'll have the 5 competencies on there and which one they need to practice a little bit more with. It also gives the parent a little information about that competency so the parent can still have a conversation with the kid at home about whatever the behavior was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so last thing that we're going to move on to, and we're running short on time here, but, you know, we really do want to make sure that what we're practicing from a social emotional standpoint, we want to make sure our kids understand that, you know, these are skills that can help you be a better student, a better friend, a better family member, a better performer in an athletic realm or on stage. You know, there's so many levels to what being social emotionally sound can help you in. So we want our kids to be excited about that. We also want them to have an understanding of like, what is it? It feels good to be kind, you know, and it feels good to practice compassion. And we want to be able to recognize that in our students and celebrate that. So really what we tried to do to kind of like make this a school-wide approach and have every one of our students get excited about it is a little bit of like a PBIS tactic, but we called it Paws for Pizza. And really what we do with that is the school mascot here is a tiger. So we have a tiger paw. And what we want to do is we want to recognize and celebrate students' acts of kindness and compassion. And that's something that we've done over the last 6 months for the first semester. What we're switching to right now is we're going to recognize students practicing optimal social and emotional skills. So if we see a student practicing great self-management, we'll give a paw for that. But initially what we did with this is you know, we celebrated students being compassionate and kind. You can see on the screen share right now, that's our main entryway and our main stairwell and it is filled with over 150 paws right now. Each paw has the student's name on it and their grade. And if we see students treating a classmate, a teacher, a custodian, a visitor with kindness or compassion, we make sure that we give the kid a paw. We reward that student. We put their name on the paw, and we let the student go up on the stair and put their paw out there. Kids have gotten really excited about this. I think any young person loves to see their name up on the wall. When we have open house, when we have visitors, parents in, kids will run up and they'll point at their paw. And then even though it doesn't say on the paw what they did, they'll remember what they did. And they'll say, well, I got this paw because, you know, I helped my classmate who was feeling sad about, you know, a loss of a loved one, so on and so forth. Like, they know exactly what it was. And then we reflect on, like, you know, is the school a better place? Are you happier because you did that? Is your classmate happier because you did that? And, you know, obviously the answer is yes to that. But we gave the kids a challenge. Once they filled the whole flight of stairs with paws, we would give them a pizza party. We'll show you a quick video right now.
145th paw print, which happens to be what we needed to get pizza.
And obviously the kids were pretty excited about that. We you know, talked about our low budget, so we made some calls to some friends, and we ended up getting some pizza trucks to pull up to the front of the school. Oh, sorry. Oh. See the kids. There's the pizza dude. So every kid ended up getting their own personal pizza that day. They weren't small; they were pretty good-sized pizzas. You know, and I think the kids were really excited about that. And you know, that's something that is part of our focus as well. Is that, you know, we know that trauma is going to exist outside of the walls of the school, and you know, there's not a lot that we can do about that. So we try to control the controllables. We want to make sure that they don't experience any trauma inside this building, and we also want to make sure that they experience as much joy as we can create for them. So, you know, having the conversations about being a human and about feeling human emotions is a big thing in our classrooms for creating joy. But then also, you know, giving an opportunity to celebrate what they've done as individuals. You know, there are over 150 acts of kindness and compassion that are out there, that are on the wall, and really letting them, you know, jump outside on a cold day right before Thanksgiving and grab a free pizza and just be super excited and joyful about that. You know, that was a big thing too. So we definitely want to infuse those lessons. We want to create joy inside the walls of our building. So that's where we're at. Sorry for getting long there, but appreciate the time, and hopefully there's a couple things you can take away.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Kirk and Jenna and Nicole and Kristen, for sharing with us. It definitely brought a smile to my face just seeing that video, and you can tell the joy. I put this comment in the chat, but I love that it's a whole school reward, really building great school culture, but also versus an individual reward. I love that. And I don't know, I can imagine the impacts that that's having on your school as a whole. Kids promoting each other and getting excited for each other, which is pretty awesome. I also said, you know, you're definitely building those life skills, and I love that. We're going to control what we can control inside this, inside of our school, and bring that joy. So I think I just posted, if anybody has any questions, it looks like there is one question. Is there a link to your lessons? And I think she's referring to the Padlet.
Yeah, I think so. I think Kristen sent one over to you. So
yes, is that okay to post? So go ahead and post that.
100%. Yeah, you can post that. I think she sent you the group 1 pre-K or K through 2nd grade Padlet. But we definitely can get you the links. And then this is our baseline. Like, we started the staff off with 20 lessons on each group level Padlet. So we're not going to give you the full Padlet that Visitation has added to, which is up over 100 lessons or so now. But we'll give you the initial 20, and then you can build your practice off of that.
Okay, great. If I'm just going to close it out, but if you all want to put your contact information in the chat, Kirk, Jen and Nicole, or, a way to get in touch with you all as I kind of close out, if you all want to put your contact information in there.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, we want to thank you all for presenting. Your passion is evident, and we really appreciate you sharing with us. I know that SEL is such an important topic and something that's on a lot of our minds, and so we appreciate you sharing your journey and being willing to kind of give us some insights there. A couple of quick just housekeeping things. Please provide the team some feedback there. You can go to the go.ncsu, that Learn for All 2020, or it's also to give them feedback. This goes directly to them. It's just specifically about their presentation. And that link is down there. I just took a screenshot, but it's under each session title, it'll say provide feedback. So if you can do that, that would be wonderful. You also might want to, we have just two more rounds left today. So if you're interested in attending those, you know that having this link will be important. This is also the place that you'll find the recordings. So once we finish each session, it goes from, you'll see over there on the far column that it says, where it says, whoops, it says join live. We change that link to say view recording. And so you can go back and you can share this presentation with others from your school. A couple of quick things. Some of you wanted to know about professional learning hours. We will be providing certificates. You either tonight or tomorrow will be sending out an evaluation. Now that evaluation is different from the evaluation that provides Jenna and Nicole and Kirk their feedback. This evaluation is short, it's 3 questions, but it does ask you overall feedback on the conference format. And once you fill that out, you give us an email address and we send you a certificate. The certificate's an important date, February 26th. That date is the last date that you can fill that out and still get a certificate. We'll run the autocrat, and those certificates will be sent to you by the 1st of March. So just look for that link in a follow-up email, or it'll be on the agenda site, how to get a certificate. We're not posting that yet because the conference isn't finished yet. Again, those live recordings will be available. I know I've already posted mine from the sessions I've hosted, but they will all be available by the 12th. But you must, again, request credit from us on the 26th. Don't wait until June when you're trying to file for those renewal hours and send an email. Go ahead and do that now. Kirk mentioned the social emotional learning MOOC. It launched this fall and we had a cohort run through it. And we're launching it again, a new cohort on February 17th. It's a free opportunity and there is that go link right there. Also, if you want to stay up to date with the PLLC, our team, and the professional learning we're doing and some of the opportunities, there is a link to our newsletter. We appreciate, again, Kirk and Jenna and Nicole for sharing with us today. It was great to have you, and we really appreciate it. And let's give them a virtual round of applause. Thank you for all you've done and all you're doing for the students at Visitation. Have a good afternoon.